Just an FYI, this video contains a huge spoiler alert for this YTP. I haven't made a reaction video in almost 2 years, but I have seen the ultimate YouTube poop. Deliver Us by Awful Fawful is hands down the most psychological, funny, well-edited, anything you can think of, because this YouTube poop is definitely one of the best YTPs, if not the best YTP I have ever seen. It doesn't have the traditional YTP style, which is editing the source to make you laugh. This YTP is trippy, the editing is at god tier level, and yet it's still pretty funny. In honor of 1,000 subscribers, I decided to review this YTP to bring a flash from the past when I was reacting to YTPs every week. If you wanted to know why I stopped making reaction videos, click on this card to take you to my 1,000 subscriber announcement. Now, let's dive into this mysterious YTP. Keep in mind that most of this video is my thoughts and opinions on this. We'll discuss the editing, comedy, retention, and originality of this YTP, and give it an overall rating like I used to do. Editing. The editing is on a whole nother level of astonishing. I have seen many YTPs even before my reaction journey on this channel. However, Deliver Us has the most extreme editing. It might not be the best editing I have ever seen, like for example, the masking is not perfect, but that doesn't matter. When I say extreme editing, I mean, well, look at this. Just look at it. Did it look like he made this YTP in a few hours? No, it doesn't. At all. What really gets me, however, is the 3D visuals. I have seen 3D visuals in a YTP, many times in fact, and this YTP is no exception. What I want to say is that it seems like the creator of this YTP didn't just use Vegas or Adobe Premiere to edit this video. No, it looks like they also used Blender. You know, Blender, the 3D animation software. It's absolutely nuts how people have come so far with their YTP since 2007, 2011, and even 2014. Now, to be fair, this is a SpongeBob YTP, and do you know what that means? Yeah. Viacom, or someone mentally sick, took this YTP down. How? How could you destroy someone's hard work with a copyright takedown? Seriously, just because it has SpongeBob characters doesn't mean that it's automatically Viacom's. It's called fair use. It's especially aggravating because they don't care if the source is changed or not, especially something as original as this. I bring this up because this has happened to a shit ton of YTPs, especially SpongeBob YTPs. It's something that needs to change on this platform. Back to this YTP, I want to compare this YTP to something like Harry Potter and the Smelly Old Shoe Brush. These YTPs are both insanely well edited, with the Master Poop, the creator of the Harry Potter YTP, just barely taking the win for the better editing. So yeah, believe it or not, Deliver Us doesn't have the best editing ever, but regardless, it still has insane editing skills, and with that, it easily earns a 10 out of 10 for editing. Comedy. Most YTPs from all time mainly have one goal, and that's making people laugh with funny edits. I bring this up for a less obvious reason, and that reason is that Mobro Studios had come up with this thing called the traditional box. As you can see, it consists of choppy editing, memes, comedy, and sus. He did say, however, that creators have stepped outside the box, and no YTP in my opinion shows that more clearly than this one. That being said, I do have to admit that this YTP is not the funniest YTP I have ever seen. Don't take me wrong though, because this YTP is still hilarious. I really like that it doesn't stick to Mobro Studios' box, but gives the comedy aspect an undertake. It really does explain that YTP has come a long way from... If I had to think of the funniest YTP I have ever seen, it would probably be Jowlerbow's sex joke Event Horizon. It's a highly sexual YTP, one that was taken down by YouTube, but not for copyright from Viacom, but YouTube for being too inappropriate. Yeah. Reason why I bring this YTP up is because I wanted to compare it for comedy purposes. I could go on and on about how this take on comedy works, but now I think I should discuss the comedy itself. There are very funny moments in this YTP, like this scene. Or this one. Yeah, I said that this YTP is hilarious, but I don't think that's the main focus. Therefore, it still earns a generous 8 out of 10 for comedy. Retention. The retention of a poop is defined as the watch time satisfaction of the video. If the retention score sucks, then that either means that the YTP was too long or too short, depending on how entertaining it is. If the score is good, then that means that the viewer has seen plenty of the YTP and has satisfied their entertainment structure. Therefore, there should be a solid beginning and a solid ending. Deliver Us may be a long YTP, but it isn't that long, and the premise of it is very occupying. Rather than focusing on comedy, it focuses on its story. We'll get to that topic later. Deliver Us was really good at keeping your attention because there was a strong beginning and an obvious ending. It's like an essay. You want to catch the reader's attention with a hook and end off with a cliffhanging conclusion. I'm basically saying the same thing over and over again, but that's because you can't really say much about retention after you define it. Therefore, in terms of retention, this YTP gets a 9 out of 10, just falling short because of its abrupt ending. Originality. Last but not least, we have originality, the thing I like best about this YTP. Yes, I think that this YTP is better in originality than the editing because I believe it is the most important aspect of a YTP. On the outside of a YTP, people focus on the editing and comedy, but on the inside, there's the retention and originality. This YTP is just so original, with it not just being a YTP, but having psychological horror involved, and as mentioned numerous times, trippy scenes. Now, don't get me wrong, trippy scenes have been done in YTP several times, but as Mobro Studios said,
it's not about what you use, it's about how you use it.
Man, I love that guy. What we mean by originality is not just having original jokes or using an original source that has been used before, but rather how it's being used. For example, a long time ago I reacted to a YTP called The Cinema Snob records over his lost VHS tape by, again, Mobro Studios. I know, I reference him a lot in this video. I bring up his YTP because it wasn't really a funny YTP, even though it still got a high score. Why? Because of its originality. I'd rather see a completely new YTP style with completely different humor than something that has been done over and over again, because if it doesn't change, YouTube poop itself would die. No one will be interested in viewing them anymore because they'd be the same stuff with different footage. Are you starting to see why originality is the most important thing in a YTP now? Going back to what I said about Mobro Studios' YTP being not super funny, it's the same thing with Deliver Us. Deliver Us is one of the most original YTPs I have ever seen, and yet, it is funnier than most YTPs I have seen. As you might expect, I give the originality score an obvious 10 out of 10. Do you see why I like this YTP so much now? It is clearly one of the most well-made YTPs ever. Seriously, it is better than Spider-Man Is Not Responsible, Flockwood's Oversized Meatballs, and even Spinch Cringe. Yes, it might not be as smoothly edited as the Master Poop YTPs, or have the comedy effect as Jowlabo YTPs, but what shines most is how this YTP scored so high. Never before had two categories earned 2 10s for a single YTP. If I were to add up the scores for each category and divide them by 4, then this YTP's average score would be 9.25, or if you round up, 9.3, but it doesn't matter if you round or not because this is the highest rating I've ever given to a YTP, and that says a lot, cause I've seen a lot. In fact, it is not one of the best YTPs I've seen, it is the best YTP I have ever seen, and it's not even a YTP, it's a masterpiece. Yes, I said it's a masterpiece. It's cinematic art, even better than most short films, and had me saying, wow. Not whoa, wow. As if this video really hit me. Awful Fawful has really outdone themselves with this video, proving he is not so awful after all. And now, you finally get to see my face ever since my last reaction video. I wanted to thank you all for watching this video, and probably my last video on this channel because I'm off to college now. I also want to thank you all for 1,000 subscribers again, as this video was my 1,000 subscribers special. And with that, make sure you guys leave a like and share, maybe leave a comment down below, and with that, I'm finally off. Take care. Peace.